Stephen, and this is the Stephen Washington Experience, and you and I are having a heart-mind moment. Let's just take a breath together. Take a deep breath in, and release the breath out. So this heart-mind moment is a continuation of the last heart-mind moment that I made about asking for help and the importance of it. I was on the elliptical machine and was listening to one of Oprah's podcasts, and she was having a conversation with Iyanla Vanzant, and Oprah asked Iyanla what was or has been her greatest lesson in her life thus far, and it made me reflect on what one of my great lessons, what it has been, and I would have to say asking for help has been a very powerful lesson that just keeps, it's the gift that keeps on giving as I live this life. I mentioned in my last video about that first time that I really felt that the truth of that lesson and how important it is to ask for help when I was in high school. And another time in my life when I had to ask for help and really didn't want to ask for help. I thought I had it. I thought I, had a firm grasp on my life and what I needed to do, and but I didn't. Was when I think I was 30 years old, and I was probably at the height of my career as a dancer and working at a job that I loved, and was very challenged by, and a lot was going on in my life, and I started to drink a lot. And I also started to use drugs, and just to cope with the bigness of my life, and also to cope with my sensitivity. I'm a very sensitive person, and I think one of the ways in which in my life was able to manage my sensitivity in this world that's filled with so much dense energy was to numb myself. So for me, drinking and using drugs and smoking were all ways in which I would self-medicate to deal with the world. And around I guess I was about 31 probably, it all just came to a head. It all came to a head. I managed it until I couldn't manage it anymore. And, it's funny, I think about it now and I look at some people in my life at that time that I was swirling around, we were all in our little orbits, and sometimes our orbits coincide, and partiers like people to party with, and it was easy for me to think, oh, I don't have a problem with that, but maybe so-and-so has a problem with that, or maybe so-and-so has a problem with that, but I'm cool, I got this. And I just remember the day when it became very clear that I didn't have this anymore. And it wasn't one of those moments that you see on television on a show like Intervention, where it's a big crisis, and family and friends come together and intervene and stop this runaway train, which is Stephen Washington's life, and bring it to a screeching halt and get him help. It was much more quiet. It was a moment, I was having a conversation with my therapist on the phone, and just something I had done during that conversation or said just made him pause and question me and confront me and basically hold a mirror up to me and make me look at myself. That it became clear to me, undeniably clear, that I had a problem and that something needed to shift. And, I hung up from that phone. I let that settle within me through the rest of that day. And I remember calling my dear friend Craig, who was in recovery, who had always been a powerful example for me of how big and full and beautiful a life without drugs and alcohol could be, without ever forcing that on me. I called him because I knew I would be safe. I knew he would understand. I knew he would hear me. He would not judge me. And he may have some answers for me, because I clearly had run out of answers. My answers and solutions weren't working for me anymore. So I had to ask for help. And I remember clearly going to his apartment on Christopher Street in New York City and sitting in his one-bedroom apartment in his living room and, crying on his shoulder. Or maybe I didn't cry, I don't remember, but I remember just having a very serious, calm conversation with him, and expressed to him what was going on, and he was great. And he just kind of swept me up, and then that was basically the beginning of a new life for me. But this new life that I stepped into would never have happened had I not reached out and asked for help. And, like I said in the last video, we live in a world where we're told to, if we're having challenges or struggling, to just figure it out, get on with it. Don't let people see your vulnerabilities, that being vulnerable is a weakness. But what I've learned is that being vulnerable is actually a strength. And you have to go through to get to. So it's another example of the power of reaching out and asking for help when you need it. There's also power in being that person who, when someone reaches out and needs help, to be that person or persons to reach back and be of assistance, where and when you can. So that's enough out of me. Thanks for taking the time out to have this heart-mind moment with me, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Okay, bye.